Recently I've been looking at techniques to find hot components on printed circuit boards, and one of the techniques to use is to use a Rosin Atomizer, which this is, or something that's an alcohol. This is Isopropanol, clear liquid. This is Methylated Spirits, which is, it says on the label, a combination of ethanol and methanol, and denatured so that you wouldn't be likely to drink it. It's purple in colour so that you actually know what it is, whereas this is a clear liquid, and I would advise a little bit more caution with clear liquids. Make sure that your bottle is properly labelled. Now put those over to one side for a moment. The Rosin Atomizer, when you first use it, you get one, you sort of charge it up. Now a lot of people have been through how to use one of these things, and in my ignorance I came a cropper, so all I did was open it up, and I thought, well, there's a little button on the side, give it a press, and a little green light came on and went off, and I let the button release the button. So I pressed the button again and put some rosin in, like so, and I waited for it to melt. After about 5 seconds the green light goes out, and the rosin may not be completely molten. So carry on and do it again. Green light comes on, and it's not quite molten, but it's getting there. It needs a little bit of encouragement to sort of sit on the hot wire. Now, don't press it too hard, just give it a little bit of encouragement. Do it again. There we go. Now, you would expect that this to be sort of smoking like crazy when the green light is on, and it isn't. That's because I've been a bit of an idiot, and the reason behind that is that I've overfilled it. You only need a tiny little bit. You should be aware that there are 3 power settings to the atomizer. The green one, which is the lowest setting, and to get to the next setting we have to press the button 3 times. 2, 3, and if you've got a sticky button or you do it wrong, 1, 2, 3, there we go, blue. And if I hold the blue button down, we're getting more heat and still a little bit of a puff of smoke coming away from it. There's a third setting, same procedure, press the button 3 times, on the 4th time you should change to the next colour. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're on red, hold the red button down, and that's the highest power setting, and I'm still not getting too much smoke from it. And as I said before, it's because I have overfilled the thing. We've got to get rid of some of this rosin out of here now before we can get it to smoke properly. I've got it set in its highest setting, and I'm pressing the button, and I'm just going to try and shake some out. As you can see, I'm managing to shake a few little drops out. Now I try to see how it's going to smoke, whether it's going to start fuming vigorously. No. We need to shake more out. Then we'll get to a point where it really does start to smoke. As you can see, I've shaken it quite a lot and it's still not got enough out. Oh, I think we're probably working enough now. glass capsule back on and then hold it sideways and let us smoke. And it's not fuming vigorously yet, which is a shame. And let me see why. I think there's still too much rosin in there. So warm it up again, shake out some more, or whatever you do, don't clout the thing, you'll break it. Now it looks like it's beginning to work. Let's see if that's so or not. Right. The idea of the glass container is to sort of hold the smoke, and it's going for, the red light's gone out now, and you should be able to tip this out, the smoke out over your components. However, it's not worked here. It's actually getting quite hot around there, and you can see I'm having a lot of trouble with this, and that's because I overfilled it like an idiot. I'll carry on trying my luck. It really is getting quite warm there. Switch her on. There's a smoke. No, I'm not having any luck. I'm not able to shake any more out, so perhaps I've shaken it all out. I don't know. We're going to try again. Ah, now it is absolutely fuming where it should be. I'm waiting for the light to go out here, and now I should be able to tip this out onto the sheet like so. I find the fumes to this quite choking, and I don't like using it. So you may be tempted to use a fume extractor, and they cost money. So you might think about opening a window or something so you've got a little breeze going past. Well, obviously that's going to be a bit of a no-no. Now, the next question is when do you refill something like this? So we'll carry on using it. I'm warming up again. It's started to smoke. The light's gone out, or going out. I'm going to press it again, keep it going, and we're going to chip out more smoke. And as you can see what a breeze would do. I'll do that again. Press it. We're creating buckets of smoke now. So we've probably got it just about right. And as you can see what a breeze would do. Just by waving my hand in front of it. Now we do get to a point where the rosin will run out. And at that point you will still be getting smoke, but the smoke particles will be so fine that they just remain suspended in the atmosphere. Technically speaking, it'll be a colloidal aerosol, but we'll carry on running because I want you to see the effect of what happens when it sort of starts running low. So you can go on for quite a long time with one filling, providing you don't overfill your device. However, the other bad thing about these things, besides the smoke, is that you're leaving a deposit of rosin all over your printed circuit board. And typically we clean that off using isopropanol or an alcohol of some description. I tend to use methylated spirits because I've got it lying around. I've finally run out of rosin, and it's not smoking as vigorously as it was, and I think it's also telling me that I need to charge this up. Oh no. It's typical when you're doing things, the atomizer has run out of power and needs recharging, so for the time being we'll ignore that. I'm going to talk about using alcohol to detect for hot components. I've seen it done mostly in laptops where they've been detecting short circuit components such as capacitors, MOSFETs and chipsets. Well, whilst that's okay for doing it with a circuit that you know to be broken or faulty and you suspect a hot component, detecting heat for other reasons, you could run into a lot of trouble, as I did, and managed to blow up a circuit through my own ignorance. Now, I've got, let's see if I can find it. I'm going to introduce a test tube, which I've got 2 electrodes in there, well, bits of copper. And I'm having an extremely bad day because I can't find my test tube clamp and chemical retort. And things are going from bad to worse. However, we'll carry on regardless. Well, as best I can, I've bodged my test tube so that we can hold it. I have the 2 probes, meter is set on the ohms range, and if I touch my metal electrodes, you'll see what the reading comes to. Try to take your fingers off the probe. You'll see we've got about, well, roughly round about 8 to 9 kiloohms. And that is because the alcohol is conductive, or the methylated spirit is conducting. And the reason behind that is that alcohol is hygroscopic, so there'll be a percentage of water in there, I think, and probably other little ions that are transporting the alcohol. Now, I'm just going to replace this with the isopropanol and see whether we get the same result. Now, I've had this lying around for several years, and we'll see what this comes up with. I think before I do that, I'm going to wipe out this out to get rid of any. Don't really want to contaminate what I've got in there. Well, this time I've replaced it with a similar volume of isopropanol, and we're going to test the resistance to this one as we did before. And this is even. As you can see, this one is measuring 4.26 megohms. Now, I did use isopropanol when I blew up a circuit, but I was using much higher voltages so than you would find in a laptop, but sort of I was trying to find a working circuit where the heat was being generated, and I came a cropper. Now, I don't know whether the resistance would be any different, higher. Let's try this again because I almost don't believe those results. Yeah, 4.5 megohms. So there's a moral there. Don't use this stuff. Use isopropanol, and it will have less effect on the circuit you're testing. However, it will still blow up the circuit if it's a working circuit at a relatively higher voltage. So anything that's sort of mains powered or anything like that, for goodness sake, don't do it. I've got a slightly different setup here, and this time we've got the isopropanol in the test tube, clamps up to a insulation tester, and I wasn't satisfied with the 4 megohms I got with the multimeter, and I was wondering whether it would perform differently if we had any higher voltages on it. So the first one I can test is at 250. It would be pointless trying the other settings, as this, looking at it, will do. We could try the 500. We'll try the 250 first of all. Now, hopefully it works. Because of the number of digits, we should get a reading. Let's go. Hopefully nothing exciting happens, but if it does, all fair and well. Meter don't even come on. Of course it does. What do I have to do? Well, first test is going to be at 250. Got it set on 250. Press. And hopefully you can see that we're getting about 3.7 megohms, which is not too different from the multimeter reading that we had earlier, which is done at a low voltage. Let's switch that off. Try it to 500, see if there's much difference. Switch on the 500, on, hold the setting, 3.8, 3.9. Is that slightly higher? Right. And switch that off. Now we'll try the 1000 volt range. Switch it on, turn it on, and see what we get. 007 megohms. I'm not expecting the resolution to be any good at this voltage, by the way. And but there you have it. That's it. I wouldn't use these for detecting hot components on high voltage boards, typically sort of mains working sort of stuff. No, don't do it. It's daft. I've had a blow up, and which taught me a lesson. Now, this is probably okay if you're doing things looking for short-circuited components on laptops and such like, sort of low voltage, below 20 volts or so. And isopropanol, good quality isopropanol, I see you okay. But even then, you will find that the Rosin Atomizer comes in handy for identifying some things as smaller components. I would use it as a sort of tool of last resort because I don't like the fumes. They are choking, and that means to say that I would like some form of fume extraction, or perhaps even using a mask. Now, masks come in various qualities, and I use a fairly decent quality mask, and I change the filters fairly regularly. Now, when I mean fairly regularly, if I only use the mask occasionally throughout the year, I change the filters at least once a year. If I do a particularly dusty, dirty job, I throw away the filters then and put new ones in for the next occasion, because your lungs are the way you breathe, and if you can't breathe, mate, you're going to be dead. Yeah, you don't want any lung infections, believe me, I know. So, what's the alternatives? Thermal imaging cameras are probably out of most amateurs' sort of pocket range. and even those in other countries where they're not that very affluent will probably resort to using sort of a rosin atomizer or isopropanol, and of the lesser of two evils is probably the isopropanol. But when you add it all together, if you're going to do it on a daily basis and you can afford it, then a thermal imaging camera is something probably worth investing in. I can't recommend a thermal imaging camera. I don't have no experience of them, so you're reliant upon trusting other people for reviews, and there lies the problem and personal experience. But I would love to have one, and I think it would be more use to me than an atomizer, which I detest, and using sort of isopropanol. And the reason behind that is that I tend to work on a wider range of devices that sort of, you know, could be anything from mains powered to sort of, you know, micro powered stuff. It doesn't bother me. It really is a question of what goes wrong in and around what I do in my house. Now I'm still waiting for the hey, it's charged up now. The Rosin Atomizer is absolutely charged up, so we're going back to that because there is a couple of little things that you'll need to know if you're going to use one. Well, not need to know, there's one last thing you need to know is how to fill it up. Let's see if we can go back to that. I haven't put the glass bowl back on the atomizer so that you can see it more clearly. We're going to try warming it up again. It is still smoking vigorously, so it doesn't need refilling. And I'm going to try and exhaust that, and then I'll come back to you. Well, I'm hoping that we've got to a point where we nearly need to refill, and I will show you what I think is going on. Fire it up and go. We're generating smoke, and got nice and hot. Now we're chipping out our smoke onto the board. I hope you can see that although we've got a lot of smoke, we're not actually settling on the board, and that's because the particulates in the smoke are not so fine that they just drift away in the air because it is a colloidal aerosol. Now it needs to be refilled at this point. Hopefully you can, let's see, get the bits of rosin in focus. You will see that I have a few bits of rosin. Now these will be too large in my opinion. That little group there is too large. Compare it with my fingernail if you must. Whilst these bits are probably going to be about the right size. Let's take that off and, oh god, there we go. I'm going to take a little bit off. I'm going to drop it in, and this is going to be out of focus guys, so I'll just do it off camera. I'll drop it in. I'm going to sort of, hopefully you can see that it's in there, and to get it to settle I've got to sort of stand it upright, like so, and that's going to be out of shot. Not unless I move this out of the way. Hopefully you can see that. I'm getting the camera to drop. Hopefully that'll be okay. Put the tube back on. Turn her on. Wait a few seconds. She starts producing smoke. The little red light's gone out. I'm going to switch it on again. So keep the heat going. start chipping the smoke out. And the smell of this stuff is killing me. So, but it does work. So although I've not showed you any effects on hot components, that wasn't the object. The object is to show you how to fill, or what to do if you overfill it. I hate these things intensely, but I've got to be realistic. There could be the odd occasion when I need to use one. If I can get away with it with low voltage stuff, I would probably use isopropanol occasionally. I would never ever use methylated spirits, and I would never use either of these if it was a high voltage circuit where I was looking for either a short circuited component, which should really be obvious, or a component that is getting hot. For my purposes, thermal imaging cameras are too expensive because it wouldn't get used, and the money would be better spent on something else. So for the time being, I'm limited to this junk, and I don't like it. It's not me, not for me. Disaster struck as I was packing up, and this irritating piece of junk rolled on the floor and broke. Now, it is possible to get a replacement top for these, and as they're not expensive, you could actually buy a new one, but I've got no use for them, and I wouldn't have them in my toolkit. And I'm sure that there's many thousands of people out there that use them on a daily basis and are very satisfied with them. I am not. I'd like to finish on a positive note about these things and offer a modification that would be useful to all those who love them. My first modification is a little wooden spoon with a couple of bits of sellotape, and it stops it from rolling around. You could put anything there, old biro, pencil, twig from the garden, anything to stop it from rolling around, and it works quite well, amazingly well. I have another modification, slightly more elegant. The second modification involves 3D printing a hexagonal shape and sliding it onto the shaft of the atomizer, and that will stop it from rolling around. It would have been nice if the manufacturers made the whole body hexagonal, and this problem wouldn't have arisen. On the other hand, they wouldn't sell so many spares, would they? And that's not good for business. To complete the modifications, I 3D printed a small stand, and now the atomizer can be placed on the workbench out of harm's way, awaiting use, and that way it should avoid breaking the glass like I did.